What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Pin Pal Bowling. Today is going to be a little bit different of a video, so I'm going to be walking you through my practice routine and what I kind of do, and maybe some kind of tips for those of you who are kind of new to bowling or want to learn how to get better at bowling. Obviously, when it comes to just about anything, practice is the most important thing to do. So I'm just going to walk you through what I do today, and hopefully you enjoy. Let's get started. Alright guys, so for those of you who tend to get like scrapes on their thumb who are not two-handed bowlers, so those of you who are one-handed bowlers and your thumb kind of gets torn up a lot, I highly recommend this stuff, the Fast Storm thumb tape specifically, because it feels very smooth when you put your thumb into the ball and it doesn't like stick or anything. And since I started using this stuff, I have not had a sore thumb after bowling in years. So highly recommend it. Alright, so as I get ready for bowling, the first thing I do is get my shoes, put my tape on my thumb, and then it's very important to stretch out. If you're not stretched out, if you're not loosened up to bowl, then you might be kind of sore, might be kind of tight bowling, and it might be a lot harder to actually throw the ball the way you want to. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Alrighty guys, once you got your lanes turned on, you're ready to start bowling. The first thing I recommend is never trying to throw like a good shot or like a perfect shot on your first ball, because you got to give yourself like 5-10 shots just to even warm up. Me personally, what I do first at the beginning of my practice is I do foul line drills. So it's just going up to the foul line without doing an approach and just working on the release. The release is the most important thing in terms of learning how to curve a bowling ball. Consistently, especially. So I'm about to go do some foul line drills, kind of show you guys what that looks like. So when it comes to this foul line drill, the main thing you guys want to be focusing on, or at least what I focus on, is making sure my hand is staying behind the ball, and also making sure that it feels like my thumb is coming out first and then my fingers are what's driving the ball down the lane. A lot of like people who are just getting to bowling, they have a problem where their thumb doesn't come out before the fingers, and as a result the revolutions are very low, and also they don't stay behind the ball very well. And the reason what causes that is that, you know, they kind of just get into bowling and they don't really put much thought into how to release the ball properly. So if you want to learn how to release the ball better, be more consistent with your release, I highly recommend this drill. So I'm going to finish it out for this game, and then we'll work on the next thing here in a couple minutes. Alrighty guys, I just finished up with the release drill. I'm feeling good about it. It's worked on. Now I'm going to work on spare shooting. But before I get to the spare shooting, I'm going to throw a few shots just to kind of loosen up, start slower, kind of progress faster. I'm not really aiming. I'm not really trying to hit a mark. I'm not really trying to throw a strike or anything. Just kind of throwing some spare shots. Not really hooking it or anything. Just kind of getting loosened up. So I'm going to show you guys. It's not really much to show you there, but let's get into some spare shooting here soon. guys, first game is done. I'm warmed up, worked on the release, so I'm feeling good. Now it's time to work on spare shooting. This is the next thing I do in my practice sessions. What I do is I start with the 10 pin, which is the pin on the very far right side, and I have to make it 3 times in a row before I can move on to the next single pin spare. So I shoot 3 10 pins in a row, 3 7 pins in a row. But if let's say I make 2 in a row and then I miss the third one, I gotta restart to the first 10 pin all over again. Not restart the whole spare shooting process, just restart that spare until I basically do all my single pin spares 3 times in a row. I have to make them 3 times in a row. And then, yeah, that's what I do next. So I'll kind of show you guys how that works. So one thing to mention, as you're doing your spare shooting, it's really important to not start thinking about like, oh man, I can't wait for this to be over with. Just once you start thinking ahead, you tend to start missing your shots, and then you start rushing it, trying to get it done with, like you're gonna start missing a lot more shots. So with me, for spare shooting, what works, it's all about staying in the moment, working on 1 or 2 things, taking it one shot at a time, because that's how you're gonna be more consistent. That's how you're gonna make more spares. So I'm gonna continue on with the spare shooting practice. We'll make sure to label like which spare I'm shooting at. So right now I'm doing 10 pins, and then I'll kind of show you guys that I'm shooting at 7 pins, then 6 pins, 4 pins, 3 pins, 2 pins, 9 pins, 8 pins. So, all right, let's get the spare shooting done. Alrighty guys, we're doing good so far. I haven't missed a single spare yet, so I've made 3 10 pins in a row, 3 7 pins in a row, and 3 6 pins in a row. I got 4 pins to go, and then I got 3 pins, then 2 pins, then 9 pins, then 8 pins. One thing that I recommend while you're like, you know, just practicing in general is like, if you start to get a little frustrated or you start messing up, like don't be afraid to just stop and just sit down and just like drink some water and just chill out for like 5 minutes. Because if you start getting frustrated and then you like continue to bowl and you can't do anything right, you're just gonna get more and more frustrated and things are just gonna go bad. So that's something that has really worked for me, is like when I'm not doing well, I stop, take a second, regroup, refocus, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have. So I'm gonna finish out the spare shooting here, and then I'll kind of show you guys what to do after that. Alrighty guys, just finished my spare shooting drill. Now it's time to change gears. Worked on our release. We've worked on spare shooting. We're pretty loosened up, pretty warmed up. I hope so after 3 games. So now, what I do after spare shooting is I kind of pick something physically that I want to work on, whether it's like my timing, whether it's my balance, whether it's my release, whether it's my swing. I just try to find something that I know I need to work on, and recording yourself during practice is very important so you can see physically what you're doing that you should work on. What I do is I spend one game working on one thing and then I switch to a different thing the next game. I've noticed when I try to work on one thing for more than a game, I kind of get bored of it, and then sometimes I kind of not do as well on it. Different things work for different people, but this game I'm going to work on my trail leg, which is my right leg. It's the leg that goes out to the left as I slide and as I finish. My goal is to keep it on the ground and keep my weight on the right side of my foot as it's resting on the ground. This will ensure not only am I more balanced to the foul line, but it will greatly improve my accuracy. Another thing with practice is you don't want to be so worried about like striking and getting high games, because that's not what you're here for. This isn't a tournament. You're just working on your game so that when you go to tournaments, there's less things you want to think about or worry about because you're confident because you worked on those things. So in tournaments, all you got to worry about is hitting your target, not about all these other things you want to work on. So this game, I'll show you guys what I'm trying to do, but I'll be working on just staying balanced and making sure my trail leg is in the right position after each shot. Alright, just got done with the game. I was working on my trail leg and my balance. I felt pretty good about it. Something I've been working on for only a couple weeks, so it's actually been improving very fast. This next game, I think I'm going to work on... Give me 1 second, I'm going to figure it out. Okay, this game I'm going to work on staying behind the ball and just really feeling it come off my fingers. I have a tendency as like a tournament progresses, like I'll start getting around the side of it a little bit more and my elbow will kind of come out. So this next game I'm going to work on staying behind it, work on making sure I really feel my hand come up the back of the ball. I'm playing pretty straight on the lane right now just because it's a pretty freshly oiled pair, so yeah, let's do this. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Gonna tell. Oh, they don't know. Gonna tell. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blues. Woo, shit. All right, guys, we just finished that game. I feel a little bit better about staying behind the ball. Threw some pretty good shots in there. So for this final game, I'm going to be working on keeping my shoulders open. I have a tendency when I'm swinging the ball, I will close my shoulders when I'm pulling down, and that will cause me to, miss it left really bad. Or let's say if I stay open with my shoulders, but my feet are going way too fast, the ball will just launch to the right, especially on my right side spares. So this final game, I'll be working on keep my feet slow for my timing and then keep my shoulders open. So let's do it. Alrighty guys, just like that, the practice session is complete. Had a really fun time filming this today. So obviously I just walked you guys through what I do in a day of practicing on my own. You know, I'll work on my release, I'll work on my spare shooting, I'll work on different things physically that I've noticed that I need to work on. Key takeaways, if you're someone who's kind of new to bowling or someone that's just looking to get better at practice, number one thing, always be filming yourself. You can't figure out what you're doing wrong unless you film yourself. If you don't film yourself, you can't see what's going wrong, and then you won't know how to fix it. So definitely be filming yourselves at home at your local bowling centers while you're practicing. That way you can kind of pinpoint different things that you can work on. It's worked for me greatly. Next thing I would make sure to be doing during your practice sessions is spare shooting. If you're looking to become a higher average bowler, higher scores, you got to be able to make spares. Spare shooting is so important. If you miss a spare, that's 11 points. Each spare you miss is 11 points off your score. So definitely, guys, make sure you're working on shooting your spares because that is so important. If you're someone who's kind of struggling to figure out how to like hook the ball properly or just wants to get better and more consistent with their release, doing that foul line drill where you just go up to the foul line without your approach and just working on like feeling the ball come off your hand the right way is so important, and it works so well. And last thing I would say, when you're working on things, like don't like drill sergeant yourself to where you're like freaking working on one thing forever, because I've noticed with myself, when I try to work on one thing for too long, I'll kind of lose focus and I'll kind of get bored of it because it'll be so repetitive. So definitely, like, what I do is I work on one thing for a game and then I work on something else for the next game. It really makes me feel better at the end of the practice session because it feels like I worked on more and I had just a better practice overall. Okay, I have one more thing actually. Last thing to conclude this video, if you're someone out there who gets frustrated easily, you know, I have experienced that in the past, I'll admit it. Just sit down and just relax for a few minutes and not work yourself up and try to go up there when you're mad, because then you're just gonna bowl even worse. You can't change the past, you can only change the future. So, other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the video, and if you have any, questions, feedback, all kinds of things. We're all ears here, so. Alright, guys. Have a good one.